Hello and welcome everyone to another video of EZPowerBI.com. And as I mentioned in my first video of this series, I'm going to discuss unusual cases. We all know that during our different projects we face different kind of requirements from our customers, and some requirements are not very straightforward and you have to do some custom development in terms of DAX and additional tables in order to implement that required solution. This one is another unusual case. One of our customers asked to create an additional filter in our report which would help them filter only those entries or those records which are, when comparing with previous year, are either positive or negative. Like in this case, if you can see that in our case, whenever we select different years, our entries are comparing with the previous year, like the total units sold this year in 2021 and the total units sold last year. And if the difference is calculated, sometimes it comes as positive, sometimes it comes as negative. But because in usual cases, in usual, or you can say the real life scenarios, the number of entries can be very uh, large numbers. So in order to focus on only positive or negative uh, values, or the years which are performing well and they are in positive, and if you want to focus on those years which are not performing well, those products which are not performing well in comparison with previous year, it is very difficult to filter them out. So because they wanted to have a custom filter over here, as you have seen that we have options of all, negative and positive. So if we are selecting positive, those years which are performing positively in comparison with previous year, only those records are shown over here, and or those products are shown over here. And if you want to focus on only those products which are not performing well in comparison with previous year, we'll select negative, and you are getting only those records. So if you change the years, these numbers change automatically based on the performance of previous years. So this is the use case which we were supposed to implement. And what we did to achieve this, I'll just go through the data model over here. We have created a date table to create the last year record, which is the usual case, and all of you know that with the date table you can apply time intelligence functions, but you can find additional table which is filter data. This is a custom table which was created in our data model. So if I'll go over here and click on the filter data, we have only created a custom table in which only there are three rows, like all, positive and negative. These rows are only meant to create a filter which is available in our report, and in this filter you can see that we are getting these three options, like all, negative and positive. So you can see that within the example which we are showing you right now, in your different use cases, if you want to have some more pointers, of more filters property, like in terms of 50% more, of 30% more, or 100% more, these kind of other kind of filters you can also implement in such cases which are similar to that. But for this example, for simplicity, we are only including these three, like all, positive and negative. Now this is only to help us select, like for example, if I click on all, here it is showing me like which option is selected right now. When I click on negative, this card is showing me like currently negative is selected. This is just to show you like which option is selected. So the DAX which we are going to create is going to check like what is the current selection, and based on that it's going to perform some operation on these matrix, and then you'll be able to filter that particular record. Now over here, if you see this visual over here, which is a matrix one, we have rows, we have columns. In columns we have selected date. In values we have total units sold, total units sold last year, and difference. The difference is not doing anything complex. The difference is only finding the difference between the total units sold this year minus total units sold last year. So up till now you don't have anything extraordinary implemented over here, but here if you click on the filter pane, we have, and when you select the matrix, we have included one measure which is check selection, and we are keeping it as one. Like if I'll show you the filter, like it's going to show you the record with when our property, or you can say the value of this measure, is coming as 1. So if we are selecting all, it's going to show me all records, negative only negative and positive. So just like that, if you see, this minus sign is appearing over here, all, both, minus, like positive and negative both, and the positive. Now in order to see how this check selection measure is created, here we have these measures. The first one, as I said before, is a simple one, which is only finding the difference between the total units sold and the total units sold last year. Then we have one more measure created, like difference more. This difference more is basically, I'll just zoom it so you can understand it clearly. The difference more is finding, like, if the sales data difference is greater than 0, then it will return 1, otherwise it will return 0. In the same manner, if we have difference less, if the sales data is less than 0, then it's going to return 1, otherwise 0. Using both of these, we have created a check selection measure, and this check selection measure is using the switch statement, and here we are giving multiple options. Like if we have selected all, no matter what kind of values are returned, whether positive or negative, it will always give you it will always return 1. When you have selected negative, it is going to check the sales data difference less. This measure will be called, and for positive, sales data difference more will be called. Now with this statement, we have satisfied all three conditions. If you are creating a different use case and you are handling a different use case, when there are more than 3 options, definitely you have to define some more measures based on that. As I said before, like for example, if there is a use case, if you want to check like how many of the products perform 50% better than the previous year, or 75% more than the previous year, so in that case you would be needing different kind of measures to satisfy those options. But in our use case, we have only 3 options, all, negative, and positive. So just for a kind of a quick walkthrough, difference more, this is the difference more DAX, which is returning 1 if the sales is more than 0, more than or equal to 0. For less, we have, if it is less, it's going to, so the outcome of this check selection, like in any case, it's going to return 1. All means all records will return 1. Negative means only negative records will return 1, otherwise it will return 0. For positive, it will only return 1 if the record are positive. So based on that, here the selected option, if I see over here the selected option, the selected option is one more measure which we have created, and in this measure we are only finding out like what is the current selection. So in this check selection, this selected option is actually checking like what is selected right now. So this is achieved through this selected option measure, and this is actually returning what is the current selection. Now everything is ready, and now we have to cook it and we have to implement the same. So this one is a straightforward slicer. In this slicer we have only selected these options, which I have already mentioned. The options are all positive and negative. And here in this card we are only returning the selected option measure, which we have already created, which the purpose of this measure is to check that whether our measure is working fine, and it's returning exactly what is selected in this slicer. And finally, based on this selection, we have created this measure, which is a check selection measure, and this is actually giving you all options. Like for all, it's going to return 1, for negative it's going to return 1, for positive it's going to return 1. Once it is created, over here in the filter pane on this particular visual, I have included this selected option, and I have provided this condition like whenever the condition is 1 only, then these records should be shown. So now everything is now in place, and now our solution is working fine. Whenever we are changing our year, so based on that, sometimes there are more than one positive values. When I click on negative, sometimes there are multiple, sometimes there are single. So it's kind of a dynamic situation where we have different values returning based on the difference. And then if I click on all, it's going to show me all in combination, like all positive and negatives are in complete list. So this serves our purpose and for our customer requirement, like whenever they want to focus on only positive values, like those products which are performing well, those products which are not performing well. So they were looking for a custom slicer or a kind of a separate slicer for them, so they can focus on those particular values. I hope like this use case is clear to you, and the approach we have followed to resolve this particular problem. So thank you for watching, and do subscribe my channel because there are more unusual cases coming. So you must be following my channel so you can improve your understanding of these use cases, and whenever you face similar use cases in your projects, you can resolve them easily. Thanks for watching.